In this video, I'm going to break down everything you need to know about fictitious names in Florida, also known as DBAs, and I'm going to save you from making a mistake that could cost you thousands of dollars in fines and legal headaches. If you're starting a business or if you're already operating one under a name that's different from your legal entity name, you need to watch this entire video because the Florida Division of Corporations doesn't mess around when it comes to fictitious name violations. I'm Santiago Cueto, board certified international business law expert and best-selling author. And over the years, I've helped hundreds of business owners navigate Florida's business registration requirements. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what a fictitious name is, when you absolutely must register one, and how to do it the right way. So let's start with the basics. A fictitious name, which most people call a DBA, that stands for Doing Business As, is simply any name you use to conduct business that's different from your legal name or your registered entity name. Now, this is where people get confused. So let me give you some real-world examples that'll make this crystal clear. If your name is Maria Rodriguez and you're a sole proprietor running a bakery called Sweet Dreams Bakery, that's its fictitious name. Why? Because Maria Rodriguez and Sweet Dreams Bakery are two different names. Or let's say you formed an LLC called Rodriguez Holdings LLC, but you operate your bakery under the name Sweet Dreams Bakery. That's also a fictitious name because your LLC is doing business under a name that's different from its registered corporate name. Now, here's what throws people off. The fictitious name isn't replacing your legal entity. Your LLC or corporation still exists with its original name. The fictitious name is just an additional name you're authorized to use in commerce. Think of it like a stage name for your business. Your legal name stays the same, but you get to operate under a more marketable brand. Now, Florida law requires you to register this fictitious name with the state, and there are some serious consequences if you don't. We'll get to those in a minute, but first, let me tell you exactly when you need to register. The Florida Fictitious Name Act is very specific about who needs to register. If you're a sole proprietor or a partnership or a limited partnership and you're doing business under any name other than your own legal name, you must register a fictitious name. There are no exceptions here. Now, for corporations and LLCs, the rule is slightly different, but just as important. You need to register a fictitious name if you're operating under any name that doesn't include the exact wording from your articles of incorporation or articles of organization. Let me emphasize that word exact, because this trips people up constantly. Let's say your LLC is officially registered as Sunshine Consulting Services LLC. If you're doing business as Sunshine Consulting, you need a fictitious name registration. If you're doing business as Sunshine Services, you need a fictitious name registration. Even if you're just dropping the LLC from your marketing materials and operating as Sunshine Consulting Services without the LLC designation, technically, you should have a fictitious name registration, although enforcement on the specific point varies. Here's another situation that catches people: multiple business lines under one entity. Maybe you have a corporation called ABC Holdings, Inc., and you run 3 different businesses, a restaurant, a retail store, and a cleaning service, all under that one corporation, but with different brand names. You need a separate fictitious name registration for each of those business names. Now let's talk about when you don't need a fictitious name, because this is equally important. If you're a sole proprietor and you're doing business using your full legal name and last name, you don't need to register anything. So if John Smith is doing business as John Smith Consulting, no fictitious name needed. Similarly, if you're an LLC or corporation and you're only using your exact registered name as it appears on your formation documents, you don't need a fictitious name. If your LLC is Green Energy Solutions LLC, and that's exactly what's on your sign, your website, and your business cards, complete with the LLC designation, you're good to go. But here's my advice. When in doubt, register it. The registration fee is minimal compared to the penalties for not registering when you should have. And speaking of protecting your business, if you're finding this information valuable, do me a favor and hit that like button right now. It helps other business owners in Florida find this content, and make sure you're subscribed to this channel because I release new videos every week covering exactly these kinds of practical business law issues that can make or break your company. All right, let's get into the actual registration process. The good news is that Florida has made this relatively straightforward, and you can do it entirely online through the Sunbiz website. That's the Florida Division of Corporations online portal. sunbiz.org. Now, before you start the registration, you need to make sure your desired fictitious name is available. You can search the Sunbiz database to see if someone else is already using that name. Now, here's something important. The fictitious name registration doesn't give you exclusive rights to that name throughout Florida. It's not like trademark protection. Multiple businesses can potentially register the same or similar fictitious names. However, you still can't use a name that's deceptively similar to another business in a way that could confuse consumers, and you definitely need to check for trademark conflicts separately. Once you've confirmed your name is available, here's what you'll need for the registration. First, you'll need your owner or entity information. If you're a sole proprietor, that's your legal name and address. If you're registering for a corporation or LLC, you'll need the entity's official registered name and Florida document number. You'll need to provide the fictitious name you want to register and the physical address where the business will operate. Notice I said physical address. You can't use a P.O. box as your principal place of business address. You'll also need to specify the nature of your business, though this can be fairly general. The registration fee is currently around $62.50, and the registration is valid for 5 years. This is crucial. It expires after 5 years, and if you let it lapse, you're operating illegally until you renew it. Set a calendar reminder now for 4.5 years from your registration date. Now, the filing process itself is simple. You go to sunbiz.org, click on fictitious name registration, and follow the online prompts. You can pay by credit card, and you'll receive your registration confirmation immediately. The system will generate a certificate that you can download and print. Now, here's a pro tip that a lot of people miss. After you register, you need to publish a notice of your fictitious name in a newspaper in the county where your principal place of business is located. You only have to do this once within 30 days of registration, but many people forget this step. Most counties have newspapers that specialize in these legal notices, and it usually costs around $50 to $100. Now, let me quickly cover the most common mistake I see. First, people register the fictitious name but never renew it after 5 years. This is a huge problem because if you're operating under an expired fictitious name registration, you're technically in violation of Florida law. Second mistake, not updating the registration when things change. If you move your principal place of business, if the ownership changes, or if you want to cancel the fictitious name, you need to file an amendment or cancellation with the state. You can't just stop using the name and forget about it. Now, here's the third mistake. Thinking that registering a fictitious name means you own that name. It doesn't. If you want real protection for your business name, you need to look into trademark registration at the state or federal level. The fictitious name registration is just permission to use that name in Florida for business purposes. It's not intellectual property protection. All right, so why does this all matter? Well, if you operate without a proper fictitious name registration when you need one, you can't maintain a lawsuit in Florida courts under that name. That means if someone owes you money and you need to sue them, or if you need to enforce a contract, you could be barred from court until you register. That's a massive problem. Additionally, many banks won't open a business account for you without a proper fictitious name registration if you're trying to use DBA. And if the state catches you operating without registration, you can face fines. On the flip side, properly registering gives you legitimacy, makes it easier to open a business bank account, and ensures you're compliant with Florida law. It's a small administrative step that protects you from much bigger problems down the road. Look, registering a fictitious name in Florida isn't complicated, but it is necessary, and doing it right the first time saves you from legal headaches later on. Now, if you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel because I'm constantly putting out content that helps you navigate Florida business law without expensive mistakes. I'm Santiago Cueto, your Florida business attorney. Be sure to watch this next video for more business law insights.